Welcome to Art Teacher Does Astrology Now 101. Here we go. Okay. I tried to do this with a microphone, wasn't working, but I'll take these off now. I promised you a video about the equinox and why things are the way they are according to the equinox. So I'm going to get into the groove here. Okay. If you've seen me do this before, skip ahead. But this is the sun. I think that's probably obvious here, right? Okay. I'm just going to lay things out for you. Yay, I've got styrofoam balls live. Yes, styrofoam balls live is just the best. I'm afraid it's a little too close. Give me a sec, because you're not going to be able to see the orbit. Okay. I'll first just demonstrate or label everything here so that you know what we're doing. I need to pull these down. Okay, the sun doesn't move. This is what we call a fixed star. We only thought that that Sirius was a fixed star, but this is a fixed star to Sirians. Okay, this is the Earth. The Earth does not rotate straight up and down like this. Otherwise, shit would be real fucked up in this place. There would be no seasons. Everything would be off. What happens is, am I finished yet? No, I'm not done explaining everything. Okay. Earth, this is the equator. You can see that I've painted on the equator. Okay. The Tropic of Cancer would be right above this, and the Tropic of Capricorn would be down here. This is called, when the Earth does this, it's called a rotation. So it takes 24 hours to rotate in a complete circle. This is not a rotation. This is an orbit. We have the Earth orbits in the same path every year for millions and millions of years. 6th grade science fair vibes, yes, except for it's like art teacher, ex-art teacher at the science fair vibes. Okay. Crazy lady. And I tried to curl my hair today and it just literally did not. So it's just Mercury. I'm blaming it all on Mercury. Okay. Where was I? Right. Orbits, rotation. Orbit, rotation. Okay. Let's put this Earth down for 1 second. Just as a visual. Okay, this is a really, really homemade. This is the zodiac. Let me pull it up. Ooh. Okay. This is how we actually get our sun signs, because the Earth's inside of here. I just don't have 3 arms. These are also fixed stars. They don't move. They move very, 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 very slowly. So they move 1 degree every 72 years. So over time, the Egyptians weren't looking at the same set of stars that we were. They were, or wherever they were in the direction they were in, it was just different. That's important because that's what gives us the precession of the equinoxes, partially. Okay, so just as a visual, it probably looks a little bit something like this. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, you can see it all right there. And the Earth rotates inside of this. Just imagine this ring, but like way the F out here. Like the ring would be as large as this room. It's huge. And technically these stars don't exactly just like sit in a little cluster. It's so pretty. It's because of our perspective. It makes the cluster the way that it is. Okay, don't need this for much anymore, so I'm gonna put it down. All right, here's the Earth again. This will be a really quick video because we're only going to talk about the equinox. The Earth, like I said, it doesn't rotate up and down like this. It rotates at about this degree. This is, right now in the world we live in, it's 23.5 degrees. Sometimes it's a little less, sometimes it's a little more. Right now we're at 23.5 degrees. By the way, that's also part of the reason why seasons change over time. Some parts of climate change come from the slow wobble. Because imagine that, right? Like sometimes the North Pole's closer to the sun, and sometimes it's further away based on the wobble. So it creates like ice ages, things like that. Okay, so we've got the Earth, 23.5 degrees, sun doesn't move. The Earth moves like this. And it might be mirrored because of Instagram, I'm not sure, so I'm just gonna do it, and just keep in mind I'm an XR teacher. Okay, not a scientist. It moves in this fashion all the way around. It doesn't move from its, doesn't like do this and then do this. Well, definitely doesn't do that. Okay. So we've got the northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. This is the equator, and what they do, especially in tropical astrology, is they make this equator have an imaginary extension all the way out into space. So if you can imagine a line that comes off the equator and extends out into space and wraps around. And then you imagine the orbit, the line of the orbit, like this. So we've got one imaginary line going this way, one imaginary line going this way. And so when this imaginary line shoots out into the world, the universe, and meets up with the orbit line, that's an equinox. It crosses in imaginary space. So these things have names, and off the top of my head I'm forgetting what they are. Celestial equator is the imaginary line. They make the equator go into the cosmos, so the celestial equator, and the rotational track that we go on. So when this diagonal line goes like this, and the orbit line goes right around the middle, sorry, I'm not really getting it around the middle of the sun, And when those two places cross, you can kind of imagine where they would cross, is when there is either a vernal spring equinox or an autumnal equinox. I'll do it on the side so you can see. Autumn, spring. So when what happens on the other 2 points that are exactly opposite, we have a summer solstice and a winter solstice. Spring, summer, fall, winter. Yeah, so that's the right order. These points are the points where, like I said, the two lines cross. These points are where the lines are the furthest apart, because you can imagine one line's doing this, one line's doing this. So it becomes wider on the other parts. Okay, so we've got the Earth like this, northern, southern hemisphere. Which equinox is this? If the northern hemisphere is closest to the sun, is it hotter up here or colder up here right now? Hotter. It's warmer now. So this would be our spring equinox when the Earth is like this. Lower hemisphere, it's their autumnal equinox because it's about to get a lot colder. And then when we zip over here to this side, 6 months later, we've got a really nice summer about to happen on the lower hemisphere. And it's getting colder up here because the Earth is that much farther away from the sun. That creates an equinox. So in astrology, what happens is is tropical astrology, not sidereal. There are two different astrologies. One's like Vedic astrology would go into the sidereal camp. Tropical astrology is based off of the seasons. So actually the seasons is based off of it. They're like mutually exclusive. So when you think about pagan holidays, pagan rituals, they're all tied around wherever the earth is around the sun. Okay, so when these 2 points cross, the diagonal one and the horizontal one, that point, way back in the day, used to happen exactly where Aries is. 0 degrees Aries. So you can see that this is a circular ring. There's 360 degrees on here. Each one of these signs, there's 12, is 30 degrees of this big circle. So on the very first degree of the entire circle is 0 degrees Aries. That is where the equinox used to happen. It used to be there. Due to the precession of the equinoxes, which is about that wobble I was telling you earlier, that cross point with the diagonal line and the horizontal line is about happening right about there, between Aquarius and Pisces. It goes backwards, precession, not process, precess. So let's say 3,000. That's a generalized guess, but about 3,000 years ago, we were having our vernal equinox. So the cross point between the diagonal line and the horizontal line happened at 0 degrees Aries. 3,000 years later, these things move 72 degrees, the earth wobbles a little bit. That point happens here, between Aquarius and Pisces. That's why sidereal astrology and tropical astrology are so different today. They used to be exactly the same. You used to be able to look up right before the sunrise on the equinox day and see Aries rising on the horizon. That is what sidereal astrology really is you being physically here, looking up and seeing that. It's not an equation like tropical astrology is. It's more of an equation because of this point thing I've been talking about, the equinox. Everything's based off of that first equinox, the vernal equinox. So wherever that lands inside the zodiac is wherever we start it. If we didn't do that, our seasons in like 12,000 years would be flipped with the months that we have. It would move that much. So like a Gemini would be born in December. That's wild, right? So we use this vernal equinox calculated point to signify the first degree of Aries. And that is what moves apart more and more and more every single year until they come back together, sidereal astrology and tropical astrology. That's why neither one is wrong. There's just a different filter to look at it with. So 3,000 years ago, like I said, we would look on the horizon right before sunrise and it would be Aries rising. Nowadays, it's between Pisces and Aquarius. That's what makes it the Aquarian age, or coming into the Aquarian age. There isn't like one consensus that we're in or not in the Aquarian age yet. Some astrologers I've read, they think 1881 was that day. There was a specific day in January in 1881 where we went into the Aquarian age. I can't remember their logic at the top of my head, but that's one group of astrologers. Another group is thinking we won't get into the Aquarian age for another 150 years. So you and we're living in this time like it's like a liminal space. We don't really know exactly where we are, but people who are more attuned to astrological they're like empaths for astrology. They can just feel it. Like you can feel when there's a full moon, and you can feel when Mercury's in retrograde. Those types of people will feel Aquarian energy first. So there are a group of us who are attuned to that type of energy. It's almost like a magnetism. And we will live more Aquarian than the rest of the world. That's why the world is kind of like this right now. Because not everybody is being ruled by Aquarian energy. Some of us, lots of us, are still ruled by Piscean energy. It's not really something that's bad or good. It's something that is a part of all of our different karmas here. Some of us have to go first. Some of us have to be the ones that shift everything into Aquarius. And that is a lot of us. It's a lot of light workers, that are here to do that kind of thing. So I hope that answers questions about why the equinox is important. It is important because it starts the astrology zodiac for the year, the vernal equinox. So technically yesterday was the autumnal equinox. It's exactly 6 months through the astrology year, the zodiac year, which is pretty cool because you get to know your year's not over yet. You're gonna, our years are gonna end in December, but they don't end till March 20th. We've got 3 more months to the year. So anyway, anything else I want to talk about here? Basically, tropical astrology is technically a celestial calculation for the most part. Because if you look up in the sky and let's say Saturn's in Aquarius and you can see Saturn in the sky, but then you take your phone app, the one with the stars, and you scan the sky, it's going to tell you it's in Capricorn. And you're like, the fuck? All these astrologers are telling me that Saturn's in Aquarius. Because of this calculation, where we start the year is different by 2.5 signs, right? Did I make that? 2.5 signs. So it's going to look, or no, it's not even 2.5. 1.5? So it's still in halfway through Capricorn right now. Anyway, it's going to create a schism between what you see on your phone app and what is calculated as the first degree of Aries. So the first degree of Aries will always be around March 20th. Or else in 12 to 15,000 years, we'll have Aries people being born in October. October, September. So anyway, if you have questions, let me know. But that's about it for me today. I know it's not completely helpful, but maybe this will spark you to go Google some pictures of what the equinox looks like in mathematical form. Math or there's some pictures that have the graph of it and the whole sky and where the vernal equinox is, and you can kind of just see it moving backward in time, in the zodiac space, because everything moves so slow. The wobble, this wobble is like this. It takes 26,000 years for it to make one complete wobble. And every time this point is facing a different star system above, that's going to be the new North Star. That's why Egyptian North Star was different than ours. Right now, 2,000-3,000 years later, maybe even more, we look at Polaris. So this thing points to Polaris. So Polaris isn't on this ecliptic here, that was the word I was looking for before. Polaris lives up here, way up here. So when we are tilted and somewhat wobbled in this direction, Polaris stays still and it looks like it's our North Star. It's the star when you look straight up in the sky sometimes. It depends on the seasons and stuff, but it doesn't move. It just stays right there and all the other stars move around it. So every time this wobbles, this hits a different star up in the sky, and we get a different North Star. So with everything moving super slow like that, that's why our seasons will always be our seasons, right? Because the Earth is never stopping moving in this fashion. But that's why our astrological signs don't necessarily match up with both types of astrology, with the sidereal and tropical. So there's more to this. Go Google. It has to. There's more. It has to do with calculations of the Tropic of Cancer and Capricorn. And there's 1,000 ways you can explain the equinox, actually. You can with an astrological lens, with a scientific lens, with an astronomical lens. Go look it up. It's interesting. All right. Talk to you later.